She said, divided by 50. Okay, that's yeah. Hey, Shelby.
Yeah.
How do you use filters?
That's not right. Because when they go down in property, you can actually put on in your sales window. Yeah. Because sales house. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So today's the farming plan, based on the neighborhood, you want a door knock, you want a number, you want to postcards, they know what the market's like. I was like, just figure it out. But I would go and do something first and then I would determine complex. Yeah. Yeah. But usually, yeah. Okay, did everybody get that? So I'm going to use the 20 as an example. If it was 20 units, that was your goal, and you divided that by 0.06, which is 6%, that's going to give me 333 people. I'm going to divide that by 50%, which is my conversion rate. So divided by 0.5, that means I have to have 667 people in my database that I put on a 36 to connect in order to yield 20 deals. Make sense? So here's the other thing I need to challenge you on, and this is not part of the business planning clinic, but it's important. I assure you that every one of you have at least 200 to 300 people in your world that you are not currently touching, that aren't even in your database, and they should be. There's a whole other exercise. It's called the circle of you. So if you're in the middle, you've got your dentist, your CPA, your doctor, your neighbors, people on LinkedIn, the people on Facebook, people on Insta, the people on whatever else social media people use these days. I don't even use Insta, so I don't know how to go beyond that. There's a list, actually, even on Connect. Oh, what is it called? The Mind Jogger, Memory Jogger on Connect that will give you like gobs of places to look for people that you know. So believe it or not, if this said I have to know 667 people or 1,666 people, I'd first fish in my own pond to figure out who I know that I'm actually not talking to. There's actually lots of them that you're not systematically marketing to in your database. That's the first order of business. Then if I go, okay, now I have a gap of 200, great. Now part of my 135, which is your business plan, is I need to meet 200 people. You see how this all connects? Okay? Okay. Okay, I wish I was here for 2 days. I could keep going, but I'm just going to rush through this. Okay. Is it weird that I get excited about this stuff? It's kind of weird, huh? Okay.
This is a dry one.
I know. I don't know how to not have fun. So here's something I'm going to ask you to do later. You'll see that you can customize your touch campaigns to be meaningful for you and something you'd enjoy and actually do. There's the 19 to connect. Who does that go to? Leads. And then there's the 36 to connect, which goes to contacts. Okay? Do this later, because it'll also help you dictate part of your plan. Okay? All right. Moving on. All right, we're going to jump into the budget model, which is super fun. Okay. Here's the concept behind the budget model. It's leading with revenue and holding your expenses accountable so that you take home money. Different than the economic model. What was the economic model? Yeah. Yeah. Figure out how to make money. Absolutely. And then the budget model is making sure you end up with some. Okay? This is the profit conversation. We're throwing GCI out the window. We don't care about gross. We care about profit. Okay? All right. So again, which best describes you? New agent, raise your hand. So they're defining it as less than 6 months. Good, you're learning at the right time. This is great. Individual agent, longer than 6 months. Agent on a team. Okay. Mega agent, so like maybe one with a team. Okay, some of you are, yeah. Okay, great. Here's the reality. You've got to learn it here, 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 and here. And over again. If you have not read the book Profit First, please go download it or buy it today. It's a really easy book. It'll give you a model of how to lead with profit. It'll probably blow your mind. It did mine. Okay, so this is leading with revenue, playing the red light, green light, and sticking to the budget. You got to make money before you spend it. I know that we've already spent a little bit of time here, and in the interest of time, does anyone have confusion around this concept? So if you're newer to the business, should you do more, and you have to put food on the table? Should you lead with marketing or prospecting? Okay, get it? Okay, lead with revenue. Play red light, green light. So, who's been part of the business for a while that can tell me what this means?
If you're farming to a certain area, for instance, and you're getting no results after 18 to 24 months, just continue to move on.
Good. If you're doing anything, she is farming as an example, but if you're spending money on anything and you're not getting a return of 2 to 3 times what it's costing you, at some point in time, you've got to pull the plug. All this is red light, green light. Do I stop and try something else, or do I continue because I recognize that I'm making 2 to 3 to 10 times more than I'm spending? If you're getting an ROI of dollar to dollar, should you continue to do it?
Yes.
No, right? If you're making a dollar for the dollar that you're spending, whew, that is a hamster wheel, okay? Because you are spending time, energy, and effort on it, and you're only getting back what you spent. No bueno, okay? Red light, green light means hold your expenses accountable. Sticking to the budget. Who loves charts? Anyone? Anyone? Oh my gosh, they're so fun. Okay. So I'm going to read this one. After your business grows from one stage to the next, you'll experience varying costs and percentages for the various line items, expenses within your budget. What this is illustrating is you're noticing there's a growth in GCI, yes? 150,000, 340,000, 640,000, all the way up to 3.4 million in GCI. Cost of sales follows that same growth pattern, right? 13%, 26, 33, up to 45%. Gross profit goes down because expenses, cost of sales is increasing. Why? What is cost of sales? What constitutes cost of sales? Yeah. Yeah. Do you probably need more people when you have a $3.4 million business than you do if you have a $340,000 business? Yeah, absolutely. That's why cost of sales increases, because this is people, right? Or systems or whatever, but it's primarily people. Expenses, I want you to look at this. It's marginal. It stays right in that 33 to 38% margin. Here's what people typically do. They grow the business And their expenses go from 38 to 45 to 67 to, oh, it happens. Lots of mega agents tell me that. I'm working on getting this back down to around 30%. Your expenses need to grow with your business, not grow in front of your business. It's holding your money accountable. And when you go to Mega Camp and Family Reunion and you walk in that hall and there's lots of shopping everywhere. Shoot, they even sell like face cream and stuff because they know that real estate is a female-dominated business. Okay, don't do it. I'm going to slap all your hands next year. Okay?
But they'll be smooth hands.
Here's why I bring that up. It is so easy to follow all the shiny things that happen around you. Don't be good at everything. Be great at the things that matter most. Okay? Because your net income, which is the only cash that winds up in the bank, by the way, business owners, will only grow if you hold that accountable. I said enough about the importance of a P&L. Because as an industry, we suck at the P&L. Okay? All right. Really, how do you fix this? Because it's not my natural DNA to want to sit down and go through it. Like, I don't even open the mail at my house because I get stressed at what's coming. So I make my husband do it. That's called a system. Okay? This is a system. Put something on your calendar for the entire year. Maybe it's the 25th of the month. Maybe it's the 5th of the following month. And go through the same things, 4 things, income statement, balance sheet, each time. Just carve out an hour or 2. Tell yourself it's a doctor's appointment because we don't cancel those. And do it once a month. I promise when it's in your calendar and you actually stop and do it, it will become more of a system and you will become a stronger business owner. And you will have more profit. And it'll probably drive your desire to have a bigger goal because you'll like seeing what you're doing. Okay? So, budget categories. This is the cost of acquiring the income. It includes the salary and commission of a listing specialist and the commission of a buyer specialist, unless you are both. These are the budget categories. I'm not going to dive too much into this now, and I know you're all going, oh my gosh, that is way too many numbers. It's in the MREA book. It's in the chart of accounts on KW Connect. You can actually even go into Google and say MREA chart of accounts, and it'll give it to you.
Yep.
It's cool. Okay? But there are essentially 9 key categories. And the difference between netting $1 million and those who aren't is that they're keeping their expenses around 30%. It's really the only variance between making more money or not. It's the one place that you have control to stay accountable. Okay? We also know that these are the 2 that are going to cost the most. And the other 9 or the other 7 will certainly play a role. But these are what we call the big 2. Okay? And the budget model suggests, and we did this earlier, that when we went through the economic model, our net income should be 40% of our GCI, and our cost of sales and our expenses should be 30% each. This is the best practice behind the model. And when was the model built? 2003 when the book came out. And was it on actual people's profitable businesses, or was it just something they were like, oh, this sounds good? Remember that those models are based on experiences, actual experiences. Okay? So you can put stock in them. Okay. So we're at what slide? 78. Thanks, you. Okay. We're going to look at the Jessica Campbell scenario, okay? Everybody know where I am? Mm-hmm. Okay. Jessica Campbell believes that leads are the name of the game. She focuses her, am I in the right place?
Yes.
Okay. She focuses her lead generation efforts on high-priced marketing techniques. She thinks that quality marketing pieces will bring quality leads. Given that Jessica Campbell's GCI goal is $1 million, review and analyze her budget plan and write your findings in the space below. So we're not going to take that much time to write it below, but based on the model that we just showed you, what are your observations?
Reduce operating expenses.
Operating too high.
Yeah, reduce operating expenses. And what happens when you do that?
Net income.
Your net income goes up to the 40%. This is another example of overcomplicating things. There's really only a few categories, and when you're aware of what they are, you can make adjustments to put more money in your pocket. Make sense? Okay. In the following exercise, guys, this is something I want you to really take time to do beyond today, because this might take you a little bit more time than 3 minutes of going, oh, yeah, this is where I am. And some of you don't even have a budget yet. That's okay. This is the starting point to your new life and more money flow.
So what about if you're a sole agent? Your cost of sale is not going to be 30%. Am I?
And your assistant is underpaid.
So, I mean, what's a fair percentage to use, do you think, for a sole agent for a cost of sale?
May I make a suggestion? I think for 2020, I would just use the 30% and find out how close or off you are. Unless you've tracked that in the last
I can't
5
track.
years, in which case use your average. Okay? Did you hear me? She wants to adjust the 30%. As your instructor in this course, we're not giving you permission to do that unless you have 5 years of data that says, oh, my average is actually 19%. Then use 19%. If you don't have an average, just use the model, and at the end of 2020, adjust. Good? Okay. So this is the your turn. It says multiply the percentages of the percentage of GCI column with your GCI, enter the result in the dollars based on the MREA. This is actually like a kind of bulky exercise. So I'd like you to actually spend the right amount of time doing that, and that could take you some time. So please use that as homework. Fair? Okay. Now we're going to go through the organizational model, and I'm going to go through this briefly. Who has a buyer's agent in the room? One person, 2 people. Okay, and some of you are buyer's agents. Anyone have a listing agent on your team that is not you? Okay. So, I love talking about building teams. In my former market center, there were probably 3 teams when I arrived and about 27 when I left. And so I was part of the consulting of a lot of those teams, growing and failing and growing and failing. So it's actually one of my favorite topics to talk about. The 2-day-ago material change element. Okay, so, and I get it. I was going through it and I'm like, oh, okay, I understand why they're making these changes, but boy, here's what it used to be. By the way, this is page 202 in the original MREA book. Well, I can say MREA book because MREA 2 isn't out yet. It used to be, I am the sole agent of my business. Who's my first hire?
Assistant.
Yep, admin, right? Who's my second hire? Yep. Why?
Help the first admin.
Yeah, right? And typically, you've got a combination of left brain and right brain here because we need both in our business. Make sense? And then who's the next hire? Typically a buyer's agent, right? And who's the next hire?
Or admin.
Or a showing specialist, which a lot of people treat as sort of a junior buyer's agent. who's going to offer this person an opportunity to grow as a leader because this person's massive talent and they want more opportunity. So you're positioning them to become a lead buyer specialist and run a team over here. Following me? You're doing nothing but listings at this point in time. Listings produce how many buyers?
2.
So we're feeding this by only doing more listings. Make sense? And then one day you go, God, I'm tired. When you're tired, who do you hire? Right? And that's typically not till you're going 6th level. Meaning, you're not the one going out on the appointments anymore. You just become really the CEO who is running the organization and developing people. This is the old organizational model. It still works. I'm going to show you why they've changed it. And this is just as much a model and a system as the budget model, as the economic model, as the lead generation model. A lot of us don't treat this enough as a model. We meet our sister's friend's neighbor and had coffee with them for 30 minutes and we go, you're hired. And then 30 minutes later, you're in my office and you're crying and you're like, oh my gosh, you're the most horrible person on the planet. How do I fire him? Right? And I'm like, well, you met him at Starbucks for 20 minutes and hired him. So it might be a start to pay attention to the model. Okay? Not that that's experience that I've had. I'm just joking. Okay. Okay. Woo! That looks a little different, doesn't it?
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah. Okay. All right, so let's walk through this. We're gonna breeze through it. Okay. First level, areas of mastery for whom?
Go back one slide.
Yeah.
Just a second.
Yep. Oh, so sorry.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah. I mean, I had to like stop and go, whoa, how did we get here?
I mean,
But
it's like night and day.
Night and day, totally. It'll make sense as we walk through it. Okay. Areas of mastery. Who? At level 1. Who's in the business at level 1?
Need myself back.
You. Okay? This is when you still wash the dishes, clean the toilet, dust the vacuum cleaner? No? Whatever, right? Okay, this is when you're everything, right? Okay? So your job is personal productivity, and it's the only thing that matters. Because when do you hire someone? When you're making enough profit, and
You can't control it. You can't do it yourself.
you can't do one more thing. And here's the tricky thing about that, and this is a Gene Rivers thing. You actually need to hire about 60 days before that. Now, the first time you run into that wall, it's going to be too late for the whole 60 days before. When you get to that point over and over again, you'll recognize when you're 60 days before that point. You're going to be on the hamster wheel, and your spouse is unhappy with you. That's how you know that you should hire someone, okay? And until then, all that matters is your mindset, the vision for where you're going, and doing the work. Period. Your work should tell you when you need to hire a person. Second level. Here's where people go sideways often. This is the Starbucks analogy. They meet someone at Starbucks and they hire him, versus going, oh, I'm becoming a bigger business owner. I need to learn how to hire and train people. I guarantee you, if you do not look at that as a model and as a system, as something you need to learn, you will have 7 admin before you know it in 1 year. Trust me on this. Where do you go to learn about it? What class? ESO is great. And who teaches you how to hire and train? What class? Career visioning.
Jennifer House.
She does. Career visioning. Remember how I said that you need to read MREA career visioning? It's called the Leverage series. Okay, career visioning is the first portion of it. Remember how I said you need to read MREA 12 times? If you're going to become a developer of people, it is now your job to learn how to hire and train exceptionally well. Or you will never be a business owner with people in the boat with you. And it will forever be your job whether you want it to be or not. Okay? Because people will not stay with you if you do not learn this as a skill. Hiring, training, and accountability. I struggle with this one. I want to hire 10 out of 10 talent around me, and I just want them to do the job. Let me know if you need me. I'm just going to go over here, right? Like, I don't want to hold them accountable. I just want you to be great. Just go, right? But I recognize that that's not fair to them, because part of my development of the people in my world, like my team leader and my staff in Palo Alto, is to help them grow as people. And that's called accountability. It's not just micromanagement. We'll talk a lot about that in the Leverage series. Then your areas of mastery, once you've learned how to hire people and train them and keep them accountable, start here. Make sure you're solid here, is to learn how to think bigger. How might you do that? Meet people who've already been doing it a year or two longer than you, or 5 years longer than you. Spend as much time with them as you can. They will give you all their war stories, and they will save you some pain. So when you go to mega camp and there's all these breakouts, or family reunion and there's all these breakouts, if this is where you're at, go to the breakouts that are not about productivity. Hopefully you've mastered that at this point. They're about thinking bigger, because when you hire talent in your world versus non-talent, and the only way I can best describe that in short order is non-talent gives you the job back. Anybody ever hired someone and you're still doing the work? That's non-talent, is to master how to think bigger so that you can develop the people inside your world who want more. Otherwise, they're going to leave you. Make sense? Succeeding through others. Having a talent bench in case this person does leave. What happens if this person leaves and you haven't worked with a buyer in 27 months and you're like, oh, she don't even remember how to work with them. Right? That's what the bench is for. That's the concept behind 2D. I'm going to keep going. Fourth level, part 1, is leverage out the buyer side. So at this point in time, we've still just got 2 admin. Following me? So when you get to this level, this is where it changes. You've got the lead admin, but this is different. This is saying, let's hire someone who just generates lots of leads. That's their sole job. And according to the model, you're actually still doing all of the appointments. They're not. They're just generating leads, both inside and outside. So they're a full-time gig. You have a showing assistant so that you have leverage on the buy side, because what takes longer, buyers or sellers? Buyers. But you're still doing all the appointments here, but someone's generating lots of business. So my guess is in level 4, part 1, you're only going to be here for a short time if this person's great, because then you're going to need more help. Okay? Okay, that was a shift. That's just part 2 of level 4. But do you understand the concept behind the lead manager? Let's get more leads coming in, and then we can add people to it. So then there's a lead manager, and then there's another person that may act as the manager of the systems, but this now is the person that's generating leads. Or maybe they both are at this point in time. One's doing OSA, one's doing ISA. Inside sales versus outside sales. But now you've got a buyer agent over here and 2 showing assistants, because you've got lots of people generating leads, not to mention that this person has your database on lockdown and is getting a 6% return every year. Yes? So now you're doing just what? Listings. Okay? So now we've got level 5. Now we've got a lead manager and we've got a new person in the lead division, because you're now starting to have divisions within your corporation. Outbound sales and inbound sales. The concept behind this, guys, of having this person, because this gets asked all the time, can this person do listings as well? Why is the initial answer no, do you think? Jack of all trades, master of none. Right? You got to make sure this person shines in the buyer arena, masters it. Sometimes you'll find that these people over time will earn the opportunity to do both this. That's the concept here too. Now let's have someone master outbound sales and have someone master inbound sales. You following? And someone managing those numbers on an ongoing basis. This person is still directing the hub and the database and the systems and all that. And then your lead buyer agent is also leveraging people. You're still doing listings here. Sure getting pretty. Now this is when they say, all right, you're ready to hang up the appointments. You've got this on lockdown. You've been here for a while. A year, 2 years, 3 years. Okay, you've mastered it. You're tired. You want out of the appointments. And that's when you bring this person in over here. Not until that point in time. This person may not come into a business sometimes for 20 years. I find that most often the Rainmaker continues to do listings for many, many, many years. Okay? But that's the model. And then you go, do I want to expand? I mean, my business is systematically yielding 100 plus sales a year or whatever. Maybe I could go put one somewhere else. When Gary Keller built the business, where did it start? Keller Williams Realty. Austin, Texas. You know where he went next?
Dallas.
Exactly. Dallas, because he could still get there in a day and come back, right? So some people go, oh, I need to go find like an expansion person in Klamath Falls, I don't know where, right? Seattle, Washington. The reality of the concept behind it was, if you're generating leads here, could you move the funnel a little bit more and generate a little bit more leads right outside of that and have an expansion agent right outside of that that's also growing the business because your systems are mastered? That's the concept here, okay? And then you've got an expansion business that continues to expand. Now the funny picture makes sense. But this is the first time that I've ever taught it like that. And at this point in time, you've actually stepped out of the business and you have someone running it. You'll see this in the new MREA book when it comes out. And until then, that's the organizational model. And the only thing I think is important to know is that it needs to be treated like a model. Don't just think you can just go hire people without learning that skill set and that system and that model and best practices. We have so much education around that stuff to help you, okay? All right, last one, goal setting.
Slide 97.
What?
Slide 97.
Okay, thank you. Gotta get through all this stuff that I just did here. All right, so there's a couple things that I think are really important. You all have this. While we're going to make a template of a business plan today, don't finish your business plan until you have confidence that this is correct. Because your plan should be made on this. And it should also include how many people you need in your database to yield the sales that you identified here, which will give you the profit that you want, which funds your big why. Is that too much, or did you follow me? Okay? So here's a really important illustration. A lot of what I talk about, guys, are conversations that I've had with agents and coaching relationships throughout the years and or when I was selling. And what I've found when people set goals is that it doesn't necessarily lead up to anything. They set their goal because of the things they hear in their environment, in the business planning clinic, or the relationships that they have with people and how they're setting their goals, or because the units sound good, or the money sounds good, but it doesn't really necessarily connect to what they need in their life from a profit standpoint. So this is a really simple exercise, and I'm going to give you a example of how to make sure that the profit goal that you chose, the net income goal, wasn't just something that sounded good to you, but actually leads up to your perfect life someday. Remember the one experience I had with my family growing up? Where did we go?
Pacific Grove.
Yeah, Pacific Grove, Cornell. Okay? Because of that, I have very, very fond memories there. And I have, from a very young age, wanted to retire there. And I will. You can come spend time with me when I land there in 20 years. Okay? And so, what I know is that what happens in my life in the next 12 months needs to land me here in 20 years. Because this is my longer term big why. Do you see how this is a big why? May not be as important as it is to creating experiences for my kids right now, but this still is part of my big why. You get that? So if in 20 years I want to be able to sell everything in Rockland where I live and my kids are good and, you know, often wherever they are, hopefully making good choices. And I said I want $2 million of cash in the bank when I make this move, okay? In 20 years. That would mean in 5 years, I need to have profit net in my bank. I need to have how much profit net in my bank in 5 years to have $2 million in 20 years? 500,000. Following me? Okay. So if I have that in 5 years, how much money saved do I need to have in 1 year? Much more palatable than 2 million. This is how most of us are wired, to go, oh my gosh, I'm overwhelmed by that because I'm trying to swallow the ocean all at once. When in reality, when we chunk it down, we go, okay, got it. So in the next year, I need to net an additional $100,000 that I can save on top of what it costs me to live, what I want for experiences, and my net that is important in kind of daily living and monthly expenses and experiences with my kids. Does that make sense? Now my goal that I set in the next 12 months for a net income needs to include this and actually gets me where I really want to go. Versus just saying, 200,000 sounds good next year. Let's do that. And what I found is most people say, 200,000 sounds good next year, let's do that. Or I did 340,000 next year, so let's do 400 next year. Or last year, so let's do 400 next year. Because that sounds like the next step I should take. You see the difference? I think it's really important to make sure that if you're going to create a GPS or a 135, which are the synonymous names that we use for a business plan at Keller Williams, that it connects to where you're going. That it gets you what you want in life. Okay? So then, if I need $100,000 extra saved in 1 year, how much do I need each month? What's the number? each month, it's like 9,667 or something, isn't that right?
The,
8333, isn't it? Something like that. Not my strength to do it in my head. Okay, now I need to net $8,333 more each month on top of my production goal to live and have the profit I need to grow my life and create experiences. Now I know in this market I'd have to sell like a quarter of one more unit. Okay, you following me? Guys, everything is so much more meaningful when you chunk it down and it gets you where you want to go. So we're going to create a template of a GPS or a 135, which is your business plan. It needs to be based on your net income, how many units you want because of that, or need because of that net income, how many people in your database that you need in order to yield that 20 deals or whatever that unit goal was, and then the lead generation strategies of how you're going to do that. And it needs to be based on what's most important to you. It gets you where you want to go. So we didn't start with this. So it could be that you chose a net income that just sounded right. So I'm going to challenge you to go through this exercise on your own time and with your spouse, if there is someone in the picture with you or your partner, to make sure that they're bought into this. Especially if your partner or spouse isn't in the business with you, because I promise you they'll support you at a higher level, even when it means time away from them, if they understand that the goals you're choosing are helping you guys get